Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Rudskogen Motor Centre for rounds 5 and 6 of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan Road Series in 2025. We're in the Porsche Cup cars and fast approaching our halfway mark as we take the circuit that is closest to the Swedish mainland here tonight. It is great to be along with you on RaceSpotTV. I'm Ian O'Leary alongside Lewis Paglet with Hugo Louise behind the cameras. This is the Additon SE Grand Prix coming to you live from Rudskogen. Good to have you alongside me, Lewis. I'm told by you that you never commentated on this circuit before. Going to be an exploration for maybe the drivers, but certainly us.
Yes, indeed. The rest of the calendar there, I have certainly commentated on at least once or twice. This, though, something brand new for me, and also brand new for us here as well. It's a superb track. It's a tricky track, and with 45 cars around there, it's going to be quite entertaining, I think.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of action, there's no doubt. We'll reach the halfway mark, as I say, at the end of this one. Montreal is in 2 weeks' time. Red Bull Ring 2 weeks after that. Donington Park rounds the season off. Of course, in the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan, we take road and oval series in alternating weeks. Tobias Olsson is currently the championship leader. He has had a bit of a points reduction based on an incident in race 1 at Road Atlanta 2 weeks ago. So he's only leading by 3 points over Marcus Byfeld now. But they do have a bit of an advantage over the rest. Goska Berntsson is leading the charge. Oliver Hagström, Vigersjö and Jonny Sundal are rounding out the top 5. Small gaps all the way from Alexander Olsen, Mikael Sundström, Elias Finoli, Henrik Lindhoff and Gabriel Norberg. All not too far away, even though we're 4 rounds into this championship. A third of the way indeed through. So since we don't know this circuit very well, let's go on board and ride on board with one of these drivers throughout a lap of this track. As we mentioned, not particularly well used worldwide, but as we were talking about before we came to air, it is the closest circuit in iRacing to Sweden. So the percentage of people who know it might be a little bit higher than other places, other leagues around the world. 14 corners, just over 2 miles in length, 3.2 kilometres in length as well. Not too many long straights. This is the first section, which reminiscent, I think, of the Shanghai circuit, actually. Formula 1 Grand Prix has been for the last 20 years or so. Then this is the longest straight on the circuit, but it's not really straight because it does bend towards the end. Turn 3 at the end of it, very, very fast right-hander. Lots of pressure being put on the left-hand side tyre through here, although in the short races we have tonight shouldn't be too much of a problem. Looking for that late apex before you get into a very, very fiddly chicane. Trying to just hit these apexes really without cutting them. So that will give you a invalid lap time here in qualifying. Lucas Olsen playing with fire a little bit there, but you've got to. Going for another late apex. Turn 8 is a little bit sort of elongated, if you like, before he comes now down another short straight, of which they mostly are here. Downhill braking zone, turn 10. Pretty difficult before you get back on the power uphill again. Nothing too steep and nothing to affect this track too much, the altitude, but it is there. And then this late apex again for turn 12 as they try to run a little bit too wide and try to run into the gravel as somebody already had. Also very nearly spinning around completely as he comes into the final corners now as well. 13 and 14, again slightly reminiscent of those Shanghai snail sections, as I'd call them. They look a bit like snails. Onto the front straight and over the line. It's uncomparable, I think, to any other circuit really in the world, other than those 2 sections which remind me of the Chinese Grand Prix circuit. Everywhere else is slightly unique and slightly unusual.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of maybe something like the Bilsterberg in Germany. Something a little bit akin to that. Yeah, very much like a tight, twisty, technical circuit. Track position is going to be key here in qualifying, making sure that you're as close to the front of the field as possible, especially on this 45-car field. I think moving your way through the field is going to be tremendously difficult around here. It's such a hard circuit to navigate. I would suspect a little bit of drama in the opening lap. Also, turn 1 and 2, do you not think it's a little bit like an uphill opening to the Oschersleben? A little bit more akin to that, I think.
Yeah, maybe you're right actually on the Oschersleben point, because although I say about Oschersleben that's a bit like the Shanghai circuits.
Everything's like Shanghai to you and O'Leary.
Why is everywhere like Shanghai? It's weird.
A horrible track as well.
But yeah, you're probably all right actually. Obviously, it doesn't quite double back on itself quite so much, but it's kind of the same, I suppose. The corner afterwards, though, is much more exciting than Oschersleben, I must say.
That's not.
Which is not very exciting. I mean, you know, I do feel like it's a very unusual corner, actually, turn 3 and 4. Is coming downhill, we see it here with Tobias Olsen, who's actually not on pole at the moment. He was for the first 5 minutes or so, but Marcus Beifeld is there now. Spectacular scenery, by the way, on the right-hand side and the left, but no time to look at it. The very, very long third and fourth corner before you get into the more S's section, the tighter and twistier parts of this circuit. But yeah, pretty spectacular right-hander. And on another day, you'd be talking about left-hand side tyre wear. The race is 20 and 30 minutes long here. Shouldn't be a problem, but nevertheless a spectacular corner anyway.
I mean, look, it's actually quite a spectacular track, and we're riding on board with our championship leader, Tobias Olsen, winner of 3 races this year. Had one of the races removed from that. Need to be a little bit patient around here. That little bit awkward for the Ice Cold Racing driver. Do you know other drivers who have driven for Ice Cold Racing?
About half of the grid in this series, but go ahead.
Me.
Oh, really? No way.
Yeah, I was an Ice Cold Racing driver a whopping 10 years ago. Isn't that bad?
I won't throw you in what I was doing 10 years ago, but
watching sim racing.
Yes, actually. So that makes me sound very sad, but that's not news, I suppose. Anyway, Finoli goes over the line and moves up to 5th place. That will be a thing, by the way, in this championship. You will see a lot of blue and white of Ice Cold Racing. They're all over the place, all over the front as well. Obviously, Tobias Olsen, part of that team. Just to give you an idea of the guys in the top 10 who are from that team. Also, Oscar Berntsen, who's 3rd, Joni Sundo, who's 5th, and Elias Finoli, we're just riding on board with here. Also, an Ice Cold Racing driver. That's just 4 of the top 8. So, yeah, it gives you a good idea. They're all generally pretty good drivers. So I can imagine they've...
Thank you.
Was it like that when you were there?
Well, to be fair, when I was there, it was pretty much just me and Eric Strana. So 50% of the team was really good.
Eric Strana was rubbish, yeah, I know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you. I'll clip that and send it to him. Thank you. One time, do you know what? One time, speaking of qualifying and Eric Strana, one time he blocked me in a qualifying session. And yeah. Oh, it's really stayed in my memory.
Oh, dear.
That was there. It's locked in there.
Just shows you, doesn't it? Sim racing teams don't have to be big to fall out. You've got 2 people there and blocking each other in qualifying. Dear, oh dear.
Can't happen in this though, because at least you get the circuit to yourself, which with 45 cars on the grid is very much needed.
Yeah. For a 10-minute session, unless you want the session to go on for half an hour or something, which wouldn't be very exciting. Yes, it's probably for the best that everybody gets tracks themselves. Tobias Olsen not on the top of this session at the moment. Marcus Beifeld has, I'd like to say, finally got a challenger this season, really. Excuse me, with the dominance that he's shown at times in the past in this championship, especially in sort of road course seasons, as it were. In the GT3 championship, he won every race but 2. In the 10 races we had at the start of 2025, the March to June season, and it's good that he's got a challenger in Tobias Olsen, who I'm told you at least know a little bit, but
definitely
he's running second lead in this championship at the moment. Is there anything any inside information you can?
What about Tobias Olsen?
Yeah,
I mean, he's been in sim racing for a long time. I used to race with him again 10, 12 years ago. Long time ago. He's been in sim racing for a while, dropped off a little bit, came back into it. Obviously, there's a point in your life where you focus elsewhere outside of the sim racing world, at least for most people. And then eventually, as you get older, maybe you refocus. Maybe you get nagged by someone a fair amount, and then you're just like, right, that's it. I've got to get back on the sim racing rig. And he's not lost any speed. In fact, actually, I'd say he's gained a fair amount. He was rapid back in the day, but he seems very fast in this at the moment. Can't quite set the lap time, though, because the session comes to a close.
He's, not quite fast enough to get to the line in time. So I'll take a deep breath and get through these names, because it's a long list of drivers, and Marcus Beifeld is at the top of them. A 22.6 his pole time, ahead of Tobias Olsen, with his teammate Oscar Berntsen right behind. He's qualified where he is in the championship, actually. Samuel Lindlow is in 4th place, ahead of Mikael Sundström and Elias Finoli, who will be on row 3. Thomas Hedlund and Henrik Lindhoff on 4, ahead of Tom Nordstrom and Johan Lindberg, rounding out the top 10. Joni Sundo and Jo Strauberg are then on row 6. Rounding out those who are just within a second of pole position, as we scroll down in a moment to the rest of the grid. Christopher Geros is in 13th place, so is Daniel Holmer, Oliver Bohlin, Jonathan Skagerston, and Hampus Bears, the first driver over a second off pole. Andres Bachmann is there as well. Oliver Hudson Vigigi, surprisingly far down in 19th, actually. Gabriel Norberg in 20th place. Then Matt Strand and Alexander Olsen on the next row ahead of Christopher Crook and Jonas Gunnarsson, who's down in 24th. Edwin Forsen, surprisingly, 25th, ahead of Jörg Frisk, with Pontus Vedsted and Tony Uvenen. Next, Oscar Motin and Robert Carlson round out the top 30. All the oval drivers in this part of the grid, by the way. Hakan Schott and Nicholas Grahn, then on 16, ahead of Andre Selander and Pontus Janssen. Joachim Svensson and Dante Forsberg, then on row 18, ahead of Thomas Kinnell and Christian Loven. Mikael Pennings and Lucas Olsen round out the top 40. Bjorn Brostum and Fredrik Forsell also set times there on row 21. My goodness, it keeps going. Kalle Wallingsström and Kasper Bjork on 22, ahead of Jens Lundqvist and Christian Gantz, who's 46th driver set time. Marcus Stiller never qualifies. He's in 47th, alongside Patrick Pfeffer, who also didn't qualify on this occasion, and he starts in 48th position. Any predictions you would like to wager before we get this race underway in just a moment with this standing start?
Yeah, indeed. Well, you had 15 seconds left to go. Well done. I'm going to say I've got to back my guy. I think Olsen might take a fourth win for the second time this season, technically.
Yeah, technically. Yeah, he's been pretty good, that's for sure. But good enough to win tonight. Let's see as the lights come on here from the Rudskogen Motor Centre, and we're ready to get underway again in the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Road Series. In the Porsche Cup cars, we're underway in this standing start, and it's another good one alongside from Olsen, who just gets alongside Marcus Beifeld in towards turn 1. It will turn the inside at 2. If he can stay there, Beifeld tries to shove him out, and there's contact. Beifeld goes into a spin, and Olsen goes into a hard spin as well. 3 of his teammates go past. Ice Cold Racing mob in the front, and in towards turn 1 further back. There's also trouble. The 2 leaders make contact as both of them were trying their very best to be the only drivers on the inside at turn 2. They eventually had neither of them backing out, and they both nearly spun round. Olsen to 4th, and Beifeld miles down the field.
Yeah, a bit of silliness there from the top 2, not wanting to give a single inch as they were working their way through that opening sector, which seems incredibly difficult. It really narrows there on the exit of the corner, and Tobias Olsen was trying his best to leave it around the outside. A little bit of awkwardness, a little bit of contact between the pair of them, and yeah, he's had a bit of contact, had a race victory taken away for contact this season already, and I don't know which way that one would go. It's quite a tricky one to piece apart.
I do think, well, obviously I only saw it live, but I think it does look a little bit to me like Beifeld came across on him there, but we'll wait and see. Finoli is now 3rd. Olsen right up the back of him, and by the way, Ice Cold Racing are in the top 7 places all in a row. I don't think I've ever seen a team mob in the front quite like that before in any series. 7 places, ridiculous, and they are running all the way through at the end of lap number 1 as a result of that spin. Mikael Sundström, who is a teammate obviously with Beifeld for the Nearly On Pace team, is in here as well, but he's down in 9th position. And just to remind you, there is a reverse grid of a top 10 in this series for us to worry about. That's what happened before turn 1. That was a bit silly.
Yeah, a little bit of pinching there in the mid pack, just a bit of awkwardness, and I mean, look, that was always going to happen. I think Bohlin was one of the ones involved in all of that. Just awkward. I mean, 48 cars around here, it's always going to cause some form of awkwardness, and even more awkward with the rejoin there for Bohlin.
It carried on, and a bit further back, of course, there was there was spin out of 2 as well. There was also a car stopped on the inside there through turn 1 and 2. We'll try and see if there are some more replays of what went on through the field there, and indeed of the leaders, who of course made that big bit of contact through turn 2 for the first time of asking. Holmer meantime goes wide, and Jonathan Skagerston gets alongside him, another Ice Cold Racing driver, into the top 10, as if we don't already have enough. He comes at 8th, maybe, round the outside through the left-hander. We'll have the inside, the final corner. There was a spin in the background there as well. Looked like another blue and white car. Might have been the same team, but it doesn't seem to have held up loads of people. These guys side by side off of the final corner. That's Lindorf trying to make up some places for 7th place. This is a replay of the start. Just Beifeld edging him out too much, not giving the room. I think so, personally, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones where Beifeld went over the white line on the exit. There's a spinner as well. Lindberg's dropping down the order. So Lindberg with a spin there coming into the second corner of the circuit. The air looking back at that opening turn instant. I mean, Beifeld does push Olsen off the circuit, but then there's the whole, we discussed this a little bit yesterday as to whose corner it is and all that rubbish. That's how Lindbergh went for the spin.
He's off into the wall, and a tow back to pit lane as well. Side by side, meantime, further back. This is just outside the top 10 for Hampus Baz, trying to get himself into that at the moment. I think one of these two is Beifeld, certainly from the nearly on pace team. Or is it? Oh, it might be Oliver Heisman figures you actually, as well with Mikael Sundström not too far away. The nearly on pace drivers are sort of 3 out of 7 in this midfield. And it is indeed Beifeld who's up to 11th. So, he has a bit of a slide and a spin for Baz. We saw it in the background for somebody else on the last lap. There's a bit of contact as Baz sort of saves that spin. It's a half spin, almost goes straight back to where he qualified in 16th.
Yeah, it was Alexander Olsen who was trying to come through that I think Baz made contact with. Feth has now dropped right the way down to the rear end of the field and up towards the front. A battle between Benson and Lindelau right at the top end of the field. 1.7 seconds now clear of Tobias Olsen, who I would suspect over the next 16.5 minutes might be able to close his way down on the top 2.
Yeah, I think so. Even though this is the shorter race, he does still have time on his side, although Benson goes wide through turn 4. He'll grab a late apex, but it's not quite the line through there. Lindelau just had to lift off, back away there for a moment before pushing on again in second position. And with Olsen just in third, then it's Tom Nordstrom who's in fourth position, creating the train of his own actually further down this field here today so far. But Benson does seem to be a little bit faster as we go back on board again with Marcus Beifeld. He's going to be one to watch, I think, through this field again. Just needing to be in the top 10 is the first objective, and you'd think he'll manage that in the next quarter of an hour.
Yeah, this is the back end of the top 10 that he can see. Stralberg leaves a door open going into this middle portion of the circuit, or right basically into the final sector. You've got the penultimate corner just here, left-hander, then into the long right-hander here. See them all drift off of that apex and then come back to it. You kind of... It's one of those ones where you don't want to drift off too far because you leave the inside wide open, but then if someone's going to dive down the inside, you're going to have such a better run onto the start-finish straight. Actually quite difficult to overtake in that final corner. And to be fair, it seems like it's quite difficult to overtake around this circuit. There was the spin for Oscar Motin as they go through the middle sector.
And it's just sort of off camber downhill, sort of awkward through turn 8 there, and he's been caught out by that, as has Jock Frisk, who's down outside the top 20 now. I'm not sure whether he was helped into that or not. He joined right in front of somebody. Not really his fault, because that somebody was running side by side with somebody else, and now they're shoved off into the grass on the outside, or very nearly were, and they all get away with it without too much contact in the end. But it's just absolutely breathless stuff here. You don't get any fast repairs in this series, by the way, so you can't take any liberties with your car by any means. And in any case, you don't need to make any pit stops, so that would kill you. But the point being, there will be people who drop out this race, but nevertheless, it will still feel as busy as ever, given the amount we have started with and the close quarters nature of this circuit.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of seems to be like a fight for survival, to be perfectly honest, if you're going to get your way through this one. But that's just kind of sometimes how it goes. To be fair, I would say, looking at some of the incidents we've had, I'm actually surprised it's been as clean as it is, because it is such a difficult circuit, and if you're going to go for an overtake, the chances of contact really high around here. Just the nature of the circuit. Whoa, that was a little bit close and very sketchy indeed, almost into the rear end as we're looking at this battle here a bit further down the order.
Yeah, I think I think in terms of just solo incidents as well, not only making the overtakes but also having a spin on your own is very, very likely, as there is a look down the inside there from Oliver Bohlin on Pontus Anderson. This is the 23rd position this battle is for at the moment, and they Stilburn side by side out the corner. You'd imagine that the inside through 3 and 4 is going to give him the position here no matter what, but it's not a done deal just for the moment. Right round the outside. It's a good effort from Wallin around the outside there, but again, he's just going to run out of grip, surely. Can he stay there for the next left-hander? He can. Very good effort indeed. And into the S's, he is going to get the plates as well, and he deserves it hanging around the outside as he did there.
It seems as though Jocke Frisk might also go for a bit of a move involved in all of that. Back up to our pole sitter, Marcus Byfeld. Here he goes down the inside to take over 10th position, open the door for his teammate as well to work his way through. So a couple of switches there at the back end of the top 10.
Yep. It's important, of course, that will be the pole for race number 2. But Marcus Byfeld in 10th position at the moment. Jonathan Skagerston currently in 9th place. Will have some defending to do as well. Further side by side up ahead, by the way, Thomas Nordstrom and Henrik Lindhoff. Lindhoff also one of those drivers who's been making a lot of progress so far. He's going to look for the exit off of 2 in the run down the hill, and I don't think he's got it this time.
No, certainly not, and not going to be close enough to get into 3, but then it's all about that confidence through 3 and then into 4, and finding the speed into that middle sector where everything really narrows down as you go into that chicane. We ride on board with Lindhoff, like I say, closing right the way up. Byfeld now gets past Skagerston, so an extra move. Well, I think there might have been an issue for Skagerston, so maybe it was a freebie as well. He's actually dropped right the way down a fair few positions, even behind Straubberg. So I think Skagerston now runs in 12th position on the road. So losing quite a few there in that overtake.
Yeah, not ideal at all around a circuit like this where it's difficult to overtake, as we've discussed. You can't afford to be losing that many for free. This is Jos Straubberg we're on board with, one of the few drivers who's actually gone backwards from where he qualified. And he has a bit of a slide there. Was he? No, he wasn't hit because there's nobody near him. He just had a bit of a slide, and that's, I mean, pretty unassuming corner, I would say, into turn 12 there, but it seems to be catching a lot of people out. That's at least the third sort of nearly or proper spin we've seen through there, and just in this race.
Yeah, but I think quite a lot of people have dragged quite a lot of gravel onto the circuit in that section. I think it's making the circuit quite slippery, and it does affect, you know, the track quite a lot more than maybe you'd think if you've never really driven around on a circuit where everyone's abusing track limits left, right and centre and dragging some of that muck off of the racing line back onto it, and it can make things extremely difficult, and also just the balance of the car in that middle section is quite difficult. Reminds me a little bit of that mid to final sector at the Circuit de Navarro, where things can be a little bit awkward, where when it comes to the weight transition. I think that's what we're seeing there. Switch for the race lead as Berntsen has dropped back now into 3rd. Oh, what's happened there?
It must be a mistake through turn 8, and as he said earlier, Tobias Olsen still had a decent chance of going on to win this race, and at the moment he seems to be favourite. He goes a little bit wide there, admittedly, but he's still in prime position, I would say, to take the victory, with Samuel Lindlow now leading very wide from Olsen there as well. Hope that this is not a trend for him, as we get just less than 10 minutes to go in this race tonight, in Heat 1, of course. Second race still to come with a top 10 reverse in a moment. It's on the power, coming out of turn 8, and he lets his teammates through. That is highly unusual.
Did he have a slowdown or something? I don't really know where you're getting slowdowns around here, but it could have been that. There's Daniel Holmer and Marcus Byfeld. It is Marcus Byfeld has been able to work his way through, up now into 8th position. And Holmer might have Hagstrom as well, knocking at the door pretty soon, which would be very handy for Byfeld having his teammate quite close by.
Slowdown, by the way, is very much possible through this chicane. If we just look through here and stay with these guys to see where indeed you can pick it up. The circuit is a little bit covered by tarmac either side of the road. You can see it not necessarily there, but there you can cut the tarmac a little bit, and especially there you can cut the inside too much. For some reason there's only tarmac on the inside there, which does make track limits a bit of a nightmare if you go a little bit too far over to the left, especially I believe in those last two, maybe the first one as well. You can definitely pick up a slowdown, so maybe that was it, but it was just the fact he rejoined directly behind his teammates, which maybe initially say he was being nice to his friends there, but maybe you're right that it was a slowdown through this section here.
Well, I can tell you something, in the next corner that follows it, the long left-hander that we're about to head into, there was a switch for the race lead. Tobias Olsen is now at the front of the field. It was Samuel Lindelof who went out a little bit wide and allowed the 091 to work his way through. And now Tobias Olsen back at the front end of the field. One thing I've noticed in this field, a lot of 3 digits, isn't it? Goodness me, lot of 3 numbers.
Nightmare. I'm glad this is not an endurance race.
Yeah, right.
Use numbers as an identification primarily. Absolute nightmare. But yeah, I'd noticed that before, but it is true. Indeed, 8 of the top 10, 7 of the top 10 rather. Very weird.
Good job, you can count that.
Oh God.
How do you feel about the leading zero?
Oh, I would ban it.
Yeah. Okay. Can I just? Look. I know because obviously we do all the oval stuff there as well. A lot of the NASCAR and such, and I know in that neck of the woods that a leading zero makes a different number. So that you have the 1, you can have the 0-1, and you can have the 001. That does not fly in my book. Not a chance.
0-1-0.
Yeah, but that's 0-10, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's still very similar. As is 100.
Yeah. Bin it.
Yeah.
Bin it.
Yeah. I don't disagree there.
The only acceptable 3-digit numbers are like the 777 there in 4th position. I can accept that. I can accept it.
105?
Huh? Nope.
No?
Ban it.
All right.
Ashley Sutton's 116. Get out of there. Why?
Yeah, especially in a championship that has 20 cars, that doesn't make any sense. But there you go. You've got loads to choose from. Edwin Forsland is making a lot of progress here tonight, and he's up to get into 11th. Oh, late on the brakes, he's gone off actually. Oh, and there's contact. One of the Ascot Racing drivers was just in behind him there, and as he broke too late for turn 1, he had to bring it back. It was Jonathan Skygersten as well again. And Forsland is at 14, that is impressive, but he did just outbrake himself a little bit towards turn 1 there in his latest overtake, and he'll be desperate to get to the top 10 now.
Yeah, that is not a car for position. That's Penix who's going a lap down on this group. So don't worry too much about that, as we're getting some more drama back here with Janssen and I think a few others. Just more contact in the opening couple of corners. Been pretty much a hot spot for action. Whoa! That was Bohlin going for your line through the opening turn, I think.
Very, very spectacular spins there. Synchronised almost through 1 and 2. Get away with it, and they get away from the scene of the crime. There is a lot of gravel on the sides of this circuit, isn't there? It's weird, isn't it? This gravel is not enforcing any form of track limits, but it is becoming part of the track in some places, especially at turn 12. Where it does seem to have caused a few problems. Here comes Marcus Beifeld now with a better run on Henrik Lindorf, who was himself going forward quite quickly in this race earlier, but now he's under pressure on Beifeld. 2 drivers you'd expect to see maybe a position or 2 higher in this field, certainly in Beifeld's case, as he got the pole position. This time, though, only fighting for 6th, and it looks like this may be their limit here in race 1.
Yeah, indeed. Maybe the 2-second margin up to Nordstrom would be too much to close down in the final 2 minutes of this race for Marcus Beifeld. If he can work his way through even in the immediate future, i.e. the next few corners, doesn't seem like that's going to happen. Not really an overtake here up into the chicane going left and then right. But this left-hander here does open up the opportunity for a little bit of a dive to the inside if they run out wide, but no mistakes coming in there from Henrik Lindorf.
It's going to be very difficult to push him into a mistake, that's for sure. These two are very, very strong drivers indeed. Beifeld versus Lindorf is going to be an exciting fight to watch as they come round the hairpin at the bottom of the circuit now. Altitude-wise it is. Turn 10. Oh, and lap traffic there, very much getting in the way. It's a nightmare situation if you're traffic in this situation, because you are sort of on the racing line, whatever you do, but Lindorf and Beifeld were not expecting that lap car to do that.
Yeah, that was Jens Lundqvist, who's also just got a little bit in the way of Forsland. Like you say, it's such a difficult one to do. I think he was trying to get back into the pit lane and does indeed return to it. So, look, it's one of those circuits where being a back marker, especially on a field like this, is not particularly easy. Obviously, we have a large difference in the strength of the field. There is Jens Lundqvist getting black flagged as well. That'll be for potentially speeding in the pit lane, which... oops, make the worst of a bad situation.
Yes. I don't actually know the pit lane very well here. It's just off to the...
I don't know the track.
Well, so that's not a good start, to be fair. Yeah, just out the final corner, you just sort of carry on straight almost, and it just seemed like a bit of a hazard. But anyway, where else are you going to put it around here? It's very difficult. So. It's one of those things, and normally again in this series you don't need to make pit stops, so anyone you see down in pit lane is not having a scheduled stop anyway in one of these races, even in the half-hour race, which of course, to remind you, is a reverse grid top 10 and is, you know, going to have a similar feel to this one, I would imagine, just with 10 minutes added on to the end. There's only 3 minutes left of this race, 3 minutes for Biefeld to find his way through.
Yeah, don't you get me started on bad pit lane design. I've got a list of circuits which there's entry or exit. Entry, Spielberg is pretty close to number one. The Red Bull Ring is bad. Pit exit, I think there is no doubt as to which one number one is. Brands Hatch, what an awful pit exit. Right onto the racing line. Oh, not even onto the racing line, onto the apex of the first corner. What on earth? But then there's a lot of these circuits, they can't do anything about it. It is what it is.
It's true. I mean, they could at Brands Hatch, I think, would be even more hilarious to make them do a sort of T-junction rejoin after turn 3. I think that'd be funny, but maybe that's stupid. That is stupid.
Well, that is stupid. That's the line the safety car takes, and I don't think the rest of the field should.
I don't know, just thinking of ways to spice it up a little bit because it's such a dull place to race. Anyway, Biefeld on the outside of turn 10 and brakes too late, way too late. Ends up almost in what's becoming a gravel trap out there with so much being brought onto the outside of the circuit. Lindoff is going to fend him off very easily if he keeps doing that, and now he'll be counting down the minutes. It's looking like it is going to go his way. As soon as you get two evenly matched drivers here, it does get a little bit difficult in the way of overtaking, and that's, I think, what makes the reverse grid race so interesting.
Not to drop a conspiracy theory on you here, Ewan, but where's the gravel coming from? Because all the tarmac has quite a large gap between it and the gravel. There's a big dive going down the inside. That one's been a bit messy as they head their way into the final sector. But yeah, look, there's tarmac and then there's the gravel. So how's the gravel getting on the track?
What could this mean?
Exactly.
Aliens?
No, no, we're not the right iRacing broadcasting company to be start talking about conspiracy theories, so we'll keep our eyes focused on the race at hand.
I'll put my tinfoil hat away for this evening. It's just seconds to go in the first race, and I believe they'll see the white flag next time, Olsen. It's going to be quite close between this, will that be in the last one or the next, but I think it will be white flag when they come past this time around. Either way, Olsen won't mind too much. He does seem to be fairly comfortably ahead of the rest. It's only a second, and that is quite a small margin compared to what he's had at points this season, but it has looked comfortable so far. Biefeld is going to have to regain some of these points back, because don't forget, at the start of today, he's just 3 points behind Tobias Olsen, and he would very much like to challenge him for this championship. At the moment, it's not looking like he's going to be able to do that in this race anyway. 7th place looking like it's going to be the finish for him. So time elapses. White flag will show to everybody as they come across the line. This
Olsen
time
has started another one.
Yeah, and Olsen will be around in about a minute to complete this race. Further down the field, still battles going on. Sent down the inside and towards turn 10 again, which is turning into one of the overtaking opportunities on this circuit, one of the few.
Yeah, certainly so. I mean, look, they're putting on a good show down there. If you were a spectator, that's where you'd want to be. We're getting some great overtakes at that point of the circuit. Some more looks coming down into this final corner to begin that final lap. Of course, I suspect there might be a few overtakes here on the final lap of the race here.
Yeah, possibly. Here we go in towards turn number 1. And, well, let's him have it in the end. Oh, big lock-up in the background, and very nearly a rear ending there in towards turn number 1. That was pretty close. Thankfully, we avoided disaster on that occasion. As Tobias Olsen now comes into the final sector for the final time. A race of perhaps more trials and tribulations than he was hoping for after contact with Marcus Biefeld through turn 1 and 2 on the opening lap of the race. After that, he was able to get his positions back from his teammates and come through to win this race. Out of the final corner here at Rudskogen, and he wins race number 1 of the Additon.se Grand Prix here from Rudskogen. It is Tobias Olsen by 1.5 seconds, or indeed 9 tenths. Oh, keep moving. 1.3 it will stabilise at the end. Lindlow will finish second, Bernson third. Ice Golf Racing affirming their dominance in this championship once again.
Yeah, certainly so. And for the second time this season, Olsen's a 4-time winner. But I think, Like I say, that opening corner incident, I don't really want to comment. That's obviously something for race control to navigate their way around, but I'm sure there'll be something maybe in the back of the heads of, actually, to be fair, no, I've raced with Tobias Olsen quite a lot. He wouldn't have given that a second thought. It sat there in my mind a little bit that maybe it's not going to be. Here's a drag race towards the line, though, as we'll see Matt Strand trying to take the position away from Solander there for 21st position, but no switch happening. Just a bit of a drag race to the line. It can happen.
It can, very much so. Over the line further down for some of the other close battles on the circuit. Nearly on pace, getting a few of their drivers into the top 10, as you can see. But it's all ice cold racing at the front. Actually, 1 through 5, Tobias Olsen wins by 1.3 ahead of Samuel Lindlow. Oscar Berntsson will be on the podium. Thomas Hedlund and Tom Nordstrom round out that top 5, with Henrik Lindhoff in 6th position, the first and only Simrace Sweden driver in that front 6. Then it's Marcus Byfeldt, Mikael Sundström, Daniel Holmer, the other Simrace Sweden car in the top 10, and then Oliver Hagen Vigaju rounding out the top 10. That will be reversed, and just missing out on that was Edvin Forsund, although he worked hard towards the end, passing Jonathan Skagerston, as we saw. Gabriel Norberg finished 13th in a battle ahead of Alexander Olsen and Hampus Baz. Jonas Gunnarsson gained 8th place, I think, in that one to get to 16th, but of Jos Jarberg with Pontus Versted, Kristen Loven and Nicholas Gran, who round out the top 20. 21st went to Andre Solander, who was in a battle with Matt Strand, Joni Sundell and Jock Frisk, and Hacken Schott to a degree as well, though he's a couple of seconds back. Christopher Crook was on his own in 26th at Pontus Jansson, who held off the likes of Lucas Olsen and Joachim Svensson. Christian Gantz rounded out the top 30. You get points all the way down to 50th, by the way, so all these positions worth fighting for. Tony Uvenen, the last driver within a minute of the win, headed top Robert Carlson. Caleb Ellingstrom, Thomas Canal and Oliver Wallin rounding out the top 35. Oscar Motin, Fredrik Forsell, Marcus Giller only getting to 38. Not one of his better efforts tonight. Bjorn Brostrom and Dante Forsberg rounding out the top 40. On the rest of the lead lap was Patrick Pfeffer and Christopher Giros. Mikael Penix was 1 lap down. Jens Lundqvist and Andres Backman 4 down. Kasper Bjork 6 down. And Elias Fanoli and Johan Lindberg retiring early on in that first race of the day. Well, warm-up begins and the drivers will be preparing for a second race in tonight's Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan Road Series Porsche Cup round from the Rudskogen Motor Centre. Hope you'll join us in a couple of moments' time. We'll take a short break and be back in a moment with race number 2. Welcome back to Rudskogen for rounds 5 and 6 of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Road Series in the Porsche Cup cars this time around. We're just preparing for race number 2 at the moment, the reverse grid race. The top 10 will be reversed soon and we'll be back underway in a moment with a half an hour race number 2. Myself, Ian Delary, Lewis McGlade bringing you commentary on RaceSpotTV tonight with Hugo Louise behind the cameras. Lewis, first race in the books. Tobias Olsen wins again, but guess that's not the headline. We're still learning about the Rudskogen circuit, and I'm not sure what to make of it after race 1, to be honest, because at times it felt as if everybody was in a stalemate. At times it felt like it was all action. So not sure what we're going to see in race number 2, and indeed what to make of race 1 either.
I think it's one that opens up the opportunity for overtakes, mostly courtesy of mistakes. That's where the overtakes have been coming from. But of course, in the previous race, the main talking point was contact between the top 2 in the championship. Marcus Biefeld dropping down the order, but still was able to work his way up into 7th position, which means in the reverse grid, he's in a slightly better position. He needs to take full advantage of it, though. It must be a victory here to make amends for the previous race.
Yeah, you'd have to say so. I mean, victory is so important in this championship in the way that the points work. First place gets 50, second gets 45, and it's 1 point per position all the way down further than that. So even a win with Olsen in second place would be beneficial, although not as ideal as a win with Olsen further down. The problem is, and me and Cam have spoken a bit about this week in, week out, there's so many ice cold racing drivers in this league that, and indeed at the front, that, you know, Biefeld doesn't have the teammate assistance that Olsen does, and if a championship comes down to points at the end, it's going to be very, very difficult for Biefeld, I think, to make up the points. I believe anyway that he's got to be leading that championship going into the final round, because there's so many teammates to assist Olsen in whatever way he might need in that final round.
That is true, but I did mention before that, you know, ice cold teammates, sometimes they block you in qualifying. So who knows what's going to happen between those ice cold teammates in the final rounds. Obviously, yes, they're going to be there to assist Tobias Olsen, but it's kind of one of those ones where sometimes having too many teammates on the grid is actually not a good thing. Like, it's something it can actually just get a little bit messy, and sometimes two's the magic number. Just have one other teammate, you and a team, and then you can start controlling things. With so many, it can actually, like, you can end up tripping up over each other a lot.
Yeah, that is true. So maybe it's not all, all sunshine, I suppose, but yeah, it has been a help so far, I feel, anyway. We'll see what Biefeld can do in this one. He does have a couple of teammates in the top 10 this time around. I mean, on a couple of occasions, that's not even been the case. Sundström and Oliver Hagström-Vigezju have on occasion struggled to finish inside the top 10. Sundström has managed it in 50% of the race so far. Oliver Hagström-Vigezju has managed it in all 4, but he's never been in the top 5. The only driver, indeed, to do so. He's one of only 3 to be in the top 10 every time coming into tonight, and he retains that, but he's not got a single top 5, which is a little bit unusual. But we'll see what role he can play in this second race as well, and we'll see how clean the start is. I mean, having Biefeld and Olsen side by side towards turn 1, I suppose, isn't conducive towards having the cleanest start between 1 and 2, but you just hope that everybody, especially the front guys, gets through cleanly this time round, because it does have the look and all the right ingredients for a very messy start, this circuit does.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you really think 48 cars can get into that first and second corner cleanly? I mean, we had crashes in the mid-pack before even we got to that opening corner. Obviously, we had the instant between the top 2 going through that first turn. I suspect we might be looking at something similar to a degree here in the second race, despite it being half an hour, despite, you know, being able to take a little bit more time. I think it might be a little bit chaotic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those 20 minutes went by quickly. There's no reason to suggest that the half an hour is going to be any slower by any means. It's going to be a reverse grid race coming up very, very shortly as warm-up draws to a close here at Rudskogen. We'll be underway again very, very shortly with that reverse top 10. And as we say, Biefeld does feel like he has a very important half an hour in front of him. Oliver Hagström-Vigezju, his teammate, though, will be on pole, and his teammate, Mikael Sundström, will be alongside him. Daniel Holmer, the only non-nearly on pace driver on the first 2 rows. Henrik Lindhoff and Tom Nordstrom, and then on row 3. And a little bit further down, it's all ice cold racing. Thomas Hedlund, Oscar Berntsen, Sammy Lindlow and Tobias Olsen. I won't go through the whole grid. I'll let you scroll through the rest and see where everybody else is, but that's the 10 that will be reversed, and those are the 10 I'm sure will be battling for the race win. It'd be a surprise to see anybody outside of that going for the win on this occasion. Questions are going to be, can Olsen get up towards the front? Can he make up the difference? Can Biefeld take this very, very important win? I think, are the 2 crucial moments. Can somebody else win? That would be a surprise. Let's see if what happens as we get this race underway. Half an hour here from Rudskogen in the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Porsche Cup Class O, and Thomas Cannell has jumped the start. Not a good start in the midfield as well from one of the ice cold racing drivers. Tobias Olsen it is, who's gone backwards here. Oliver Hodgson figures you in towards turn 1 side by side with Daniel Holmer, who looks like he's going to take the lead here. Oh, and it is Connaught in the background, and Olsen was not too far away from that part of the field. He might be caught up in this. We'll see whether he's got through cleanly. Byfeld certainly has, and he's got the assistance of his teammates as well as he tries to get past Daniel Holmer on the way towards turn 3. He will do that as well. It's a good start for Byfeld and a disastrous one for Tobias Olsen, who's nowhere to be seen in the top 10.
Yeah, it was contact between the two Olsens. It was Alexander Olsen and Tobias Olsen that made contact going into, as they were trying to avoid the stricken Oscar Benson at the opening corner. He was the one that was spun round. He's already returned to pit lane to service the vehicle. He's bailed from the circuit, so I don't suspect we'll be seeing Benson back out on the track. It's a bit of a shame after a solid drive in the previous. I believe it was him that was spun round anyway. But either way, we've got this battle for the race here. I think Byfeld might be able to work his way through pretty quickly, and there is also another spinner in the background. Stolberg's going backwards.
Oh, and it's trouble coming up the hill. I thought it was going to be a proper pile on there. Looks like they get away with it. It's not going to be a pile-up, but it is a big incident through that for that turn 10. A good overtaking chance. It can go wrong very quickly, though. Hackenschot's got a meat ball, you'd imagine, related to that. Marcus Byfeld takes the lead as well. Oliver Hodgson figures you rather gave him that, and you get the feeling now he has got a huge teammate job on his hands for the rest of this race. This is the start. This is, right in the middle of the pack. And Olsen just about gets through here cleanly, I suppose, but that could have been a whole lot worse. There's a secondary spinners they're all trying to avoid. It's just inevitable, isn't it? It's an absolute lottery through the first two corners here.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you've got to keep your wits about you. I know you can try and avoid it, and sometimes you get involved, as we've got a spinner right in the middle of the pack, left and right. They're all going to go to get past Christian Lovin, who's now dropping back to about 30th position by the time they get down into the braking zone for turn 3. Very sketchy, but I don't quite know how you get... surely there's been contact or no assistance, just a solo one. That's kind of impressive, not going to lie.
Go steady. I said that yesterday about the F4 cars. I was saying, well, it can't be that difficult on traction, can it? And you were saying, no, it can.
That is true.
This is probably the same situation that we're just talking about cars we've never driven, but there you go. It is slightly unusual, especially for these guys who will obviously be well practiced in these Porsche Cup cars. There is Tom Nordstrom. He's just let Tobias Olsen pass, so it's not a dream start for Olsen by any means, but it's not a disaster, and there's still trouble out turn 10. It looked like Dante Forsberg was landing back on the ground there. Not sure what happened there as he was coming out of the corner, but more trouble further down. This has been more chaotic than race 1.
Let's see. Got tapped, got spun round, and don't think we're seeing. Well, he must. Yeah, I was going to say he must have had another hit because he was back up on that curb. He did the right thing by remaining stationary, but of course, if people are still going side by side, then you're always going to get potentially a bit of a whack. There's Henrik Lindhoff, of course. You've got Samuel Lindelöf behind, then Forsland, then Alexander Olsen, then Tobias Olsen in 9th position at the moment, working his way right up the order, 9th spot. I know his championship rival was all the way up in the race lead, but still, I think with 27 minutes left to go, that's pretty solid. I think he's going to gain another one here.
Yeah, and there he goes. Olsen on Olsen. Up into 8th place. If those two could get apart so we could not be confused, that'd be good. 8th place for Tobias, and you'd imagine he will. Off in the background. Another spin. Andrei Salander this time. He started 20th. No. And he's on the grass trying to get back going again, and this is going to be a nightmare. There's careful.
Reverse gear is an option, my friend.
Please. There is a lot of space behind you. There he goes. He's now back on again. He was just slowly inching forward there into more and more danger. Thankfully, there was no crash. But it is tough on these guys. To be fair, we talk about these rejoins often, and it's so frustrating to have to wait like that. But you do have to do it. You've got to remember sometimes the driver's point of view. Another one on traction there, out of turn 8 this time.
Yeah, it seems like the circuit might even be a little bit more slippery than even in the previous race. Maybe conditions leading towards that. Maybe it's wind direction, maybe it's temperature, or maybe it's people just desperate to get on with it. Won't blame that second spin on the grass. I don't think that's so easy to do when you're off the line, rear-wheel drive car, no traction control like that. It's so easy to flick it round like that. And like I say, bit of drama to have been dealt with as we head back down the field. 16th place, Headland we're riding on board with at the moment, staring at the 107, looking for the opportune moment to get past Hampus Baz.
And 10 has been a good option so far tonight, but it doesn't. Well, he's kind of close here, Headland, if he wants to really have a dive, because it's downhill. The braking zone is extended quite a lot. Oh, and he is having a look. He was never going to get that down the inside properly, though, without contact. And you get the feeling Hampus Paz knew that. He pulled onto the apex without any fear. And he keeps the place. He'll get a free one there. A slide on the exit of turn 12 there from Christopher Crook. And he drops down. That's another instant to shortcut through 12.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, look, we need to have an instant 12 slide counter, because there's been quite a few that have had issues in the opening race and here in the opening laps of the second one, and it's kind of making me a little bit concerned about that corner. I don't really want to navigate that one. Seems pretty difficult. Looks like a fun track to drive, at least.
Yeah, I'd say it's unusual in a lot of ways. As there's a spin for Pontus Janssen, meantime. He drops now down to below where he started and just decides, well, I'm going to be waiting here forever. I'll just tow back to pit lane instead. And that's what he does. Oh, he was helped as well. Probably a little bit of frustration contributing to this tow there, as he was an innocent bystander in that.
Certainly so. Back up into the top 10, Samuel Lindelof behind Henrik Lindoff, of course, the number 8 with the 199 behind. Tobias Olsen's lurking in the background in 8th position. The car slightly off the rear end of this group, closing in bit by bit. At the moment, it does seem as though Marcus Beifeld has checked out into the race distance and is, without, potential mistake or anything, is 24 minutes away from a victory. And I know that sounds like maybe getting ahead of yourself a little bit, but I'm not sure there's too much that's going to be challenging him if he doesn't make a mistake. But around here, it seems like mistakes are pretty easy to find, and then lap traffic is going to be a bit of a factor later on in this race as well.
Yeah, it very nearly was at the end of 20 minutes in race 1, so with another 10 it will absolutely be a factor. This is the battle for 20th place. So Christopher Garros is on the outside line here. This is in that group, by the way. Garros, I'm surprised, didn't pick up any damage actually when Janssen went in that big spin we saw a couple of minutes ago through here. It's side by side again between these two, and he's just about going to get the exit here, Garros. This is a good little run that he's on at the moment, and he should get past now. It's Tony Uvinen on the other side of the road, and Uvinen's got the exit out of turn number 2. Garros inside at 3 and 4, but nice holding around the outside there from Uvinen so far. He's still there, and he can't stay there for much longer. So, well, can he? No, he can't. And Garros is up into 20th place indeed. There has been trouble in that front group as well. Edvin Forsen just dropped out of it all of a sudden. Tobias Olsen up to 6th position, as a couple were dropping down the field there, but further adding to Beifeld's lead.
Certainly so. Seems though, there's the spin, 2 cars getting spun round in all of that. So just a little bit messy in that group. That was Lindoff and Lindelof getting spun round courtesy of it. Again, just a little bit messy. But that's the problem with some of these corners where, whoa, that was a big hit into the exit of 12. And it is Tony Uvinen. Please don't rejoin like that. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that was close. Oh goodness me, that car looks terrible.
I think it's assisted. Sure. No, it's not assisted.
Wow, how does he go backwards so hard? Oh, we just joined it at a bad time, I suppose. I thought he was going really fast. That replay makes it look very, very mundane. But there you go. It's going to be a bit of damage, but not that bad. Somebody's car there, by the way. I'm not sure who it was we were just looking at. That's absolutely ruined. Don't know who it was, but it was a nice cold racing driver. Thomas Headland's car is not exactly clean all round, and he's under a lot of pressure at the moment for this 14th place. Look at that behind him. That is not what you want to see for a driver who was in the top 10. He's nowhere near that now, and he's barely hanging on to a top 15.
Yeah, I think some of these cars have most certainly been through a lot. That can be confirmed. I say Headland's got Hampus Baz going on the attack, almost looked to the inside there, but now we come down into the hairpin at 10. No opportunity. Headland going out a little bit wide, finding the later apex. Of course, he's got Baz behind. He's got Crook as well, waiting. Wallen also looking for a prime opportunity, and there is yet another mistake, costing Hampus Baz a position to Christopher Cook. And now Oliver Wallen is going to try and get back into the fight to the outside of the final corner. You're never going to get enough grip round there.
No, but he might get the exit in towards turn number 1 in time. Let's see if there's a move down the inside, or maybe the outside to get him the inside at 2. No, not quite. Exit not quite good enough on that occasion. Evan Forson's trying to win some of those places back, by the way. He dropped outside the top 10 with his trouble a moment ago. We saw his incident through turn 8, and he's now back to 9th again. He passes Johnny Sundo into turn 1, it was. Forsland will continue to try and get himself back through the field once again, so bouncing back rather nicely. But I was going to say, by the way, sort of wondering who's at fault really for that incident through turn 8. It's a very, very wide line taken by the driver on the outside. Should they be the ones looking sort of for who's poking the nose down the inside, or should he not be making that late of a move? It was a tricky one, I thought.
It is. It's kind of it's one of those ones that a lot of people see it in very different ways, because there'll be the people that will sit there and be like, same as, for example, like Luffield at Silverstone, where you can go wide in the entry and then cut back to the apex, and you can sit there and be like, well, that car's always going to cut back to the apex, and that's fine. But if the car's there, then they can't cut back. So it's not an easy one. It's one that kind of, a lot of people have a lot of different opinions, and if that's the case, then maybe it's a racing incident. This one, though, might have not been more. That was nearly big whack there, coming as Gunnarsson's dropping down the order.
All sorts of different speeds here as the different degrees of incident through the final turn. Side by side, as a look on the outside there from Hampus Baz on Bohlin at the front of the field. They battle side by side through this first couple of corners, and at the other side they get back to single file again. But that was all very messy as they came out of the final turn. They were all over the place on the front stretch. And they front stretch? Goodness me, I've been doing too much over racing, dear me. Front straight for those in the rear world, and yes, they've sorted it out through 1 and 2 on that occasion. Big slide in the background as well. Another one of the Ascot break. This is how it all started. Jonas Gunnarsson getting sort of half spun here, and yeah, you just got could have got scattered to avoid really, and it creates this very unusual situation where you've got a couple of people recovering from spins, one trying to avoid, and then two are coming through at normal speed in towards turn number 1, and thankfully they all got through cleanly, and it's not as bad as it could have been for those who were making contact.
And do you know what? It's almost exactly the same as that incident we saw at turn 8, where you've got two drivers on two different lines going into the corner. One's trying to hook it back up for a later apex, another one's trying to take the low line around the corner and maybe try and find a smoother line through, understeered up into the car, taking the high line. There we go. We'll throw in some more oval terminology in there. Car got tight. I don't know ovals, it's fine. It was just a bit awkward. But that's one of the ones I look at that, and sometimes I'm just looking at it and being like, is it kind of just a racing incident? The two of them have come together. They're both just on awkwardly different lines into that corner. What would you do in NASCAR? Well, you wouldn't have any penalties anyway because it's banter, isn't it?
No, I know. Yeah, you could assault someone and not get a penalty, so it's fine.
Matt Kenseth could almost. I didn't get away with it though, did he?
Not quite.
When he full throttled Logano, what was it? 2015?
15 or
16? 15 or 16?
I want to say something like that. Yeah.
Memories.
Scary in itself. But anyway, it was a 2-race ban for.
I thought it was 3. I think it was 3.
I thought there were. It was however many races there were left in the season. I thought it was 2, but maybe you're right. Imposed a rule for nearly 10 years because of that very crash. It's in the biggest piece of overreaction I've ever seen for 10 years. Anyway, that's not quite true, but it. What
about full throttling it into the wall, going all the way around the outside to gain some positions? How do you feel about that one?
Absolutely legendary, although I wouldn't let it happen again.
Yeah, that's fair.
I actually do agree with that. It's one of those iconic moments that you're always going to look back to because it was incredible. But I wouldn't like to see, because everyone would do it from now on, and I don't want to see that. To be honest. So yeah, there we go.
You don't, I do.
Do you?
No.
No.
God no. Again, it is iconic.
Yeah. And it will only remain so if he's the only one to ever do it. So let's keep it that way. Tobias Olsen will continue to apply the pressure on Mikael Sundström, and what a job he has, by the way. Marcus Barfeld is doing his part of leading this race, but he's got to assign his teammates now to try and help him in whatever way he can. Oliver Hargreaves-Vigezou is doing his part by running second and not even really defending. He's just running well. And Mikael Sundström is doing the defending part for the moment. How long can he keep Tobias Olsen behind, I wonder? Well, not much longer. Inside line looking to turn 12, where so many have had trouble tonight. There was a look, but no chance to just yet. 15 minutes to go, and he's really piling on the pressure.
Yeah, there is a fair amount of pressure being delivered in this group as an entirety. Like I say, Henrik Lindhoff keeping Daniel Holmer at bay, and of course behind that, Sundström and Olsen. Very tight, 5 seconds. Our race leader is clear with half the race distance left to go in this one as they begin yet another lap. There goes a spin for Lucas Olsen. Oh, is he going to get into reverse? Yes, he is. Sorry, not Lucas Olsen, never mind.
Ouch. Not quick enough, he didn't. Christian Gantz was that who came rushing onto the scene and smashing straight into the front left, and that is a tow back to pit lane. As I mentioned, no fast repairs in this series. He will be out tonight. Let's have another look. It's just the outside again. Not even sure it is. We can blame that one on the gravel, but he saw Gantz coming and sort of backed out of his reverse. He was going to reverse out the way, but you know, you are always fearful if you're reversing like that somebody's already planning to go around the outside of you, and so you almost get frozen into position, and sadly that's what undid him there a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of, again, this is where if you remain stationary after a, so obviously you kind of want to get on with it immediately, and sometimes finding a reverse is a good idea, but by moving you're becoming unpredictable. If you're stationary, then it's up to them to avoid you, and if you move, you're kind of on your head be it. And yeah, by sticking it in reverse, there was maybe a chance it was going to work, but then by stopping, it was obviously not going to. Up to T1 then, we're going to see if Sundström is going to be able to keep Olsen at bay, proving once again the circuit can be very difficult to overtake at. Maybe Tobias Olsen is just waiting for a mistake there for Mikael Sundström.
Yeah, it has been this situation a couple of times this season where we've seen Sundström on the defensive from Tobias Olsen, and it hasn't taken too long on a couple of occasions. He's going for it here, turn 3, at least looking. He's going to try and force that area. He's not just going to passively sit there waiting for it. He's going to try and force it, and he does go a little bit wide there, Sundström, and now he's on the, oh, wow, he's on the gravel trying to overtake. Olsen is going to throw absolutely everything at this. We absolutely know that, but how is he going to be able to make this move in the end? It's all well and good being, trying hard, but that doesn't always get you the place. So it's getting interesting now. A little bit of gravel kicked up there, and you can see him sliding the car in a couple of places as well. If I'm Sundström in this situation, I'm seeing that as a good thing, to be honest. If he's sort of heating up the tyres a little bit and getting a little bit out of shape to what he's normally doing to try and overtake you, that is a good sign.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of one of those ones. He's got to find a way through fairly soon. If he doesn't, he's losing the opportunity to go after that podium, and I know that Beifeld's a little bit too far down the road, but still, it's a tough one for Olsen.
Yeah, very much so. Holmer and Lindhoff will queue up behind Oliver Hargreaves-Vigezou. Not too pertinent that he keeps these two behind, although Lindhoff obviously a very strong driver in his own right, not had the breath start to this season. He has only been in the top 10 twice out of 4 occasions, so not a real worry at the moment, but not too far away either. And a little bit further down for Daniel Holmer. He's currently 13th place, no top 10s yet. That's before tonight, by the way, before race 1. So yeah, not the best 2 races just yet, 2 rounds just yet, but they could become factors later on. For now, though, it's not the main concern. Oliver Hargreaves-Vigezou has also got to stay in front of Tobias Olsen when they get to that situation. And in the background, interestingly, Olsen is a bit further away from Sundström. A couple of car lengths have just opened up there briefly.
Also, Nordstrom's dropped back a few positions behind Alexander Olsen and Edvin Forsland. So a couple of drops there coming in from Nordstrom. I don't think it was a particularly major incident, though, because he's been able to keep Sundell behind. So still remains in this battle. Maybe just a mistake, potentially going through. I think at that point in the circuit might have been turn 8, rolling off the apex a little bit and opening up the opportunity for the 2 to come through. But like I say, nothing too major. The only problem is that's 2 cars cars he's going to have to work hard to get back through on. But yeah, I just don't really know where the opportunities are. But then if you've opened up the door, what are the chances that they're going to open the door as well for you? And like I said, there's a few drivers praying for mistakes from the car ahead.
Yeah, it's what you end up doing around here. Unfortunately, in places, obviously you can try and accelerate that process, but it's about doing that legally, which is the thing. Alexander Olsen a little bit wide through 4. And through 4, then we'll just put the pressure on now through the S's. He goes. He's on a better line there. Will he stick his nose down the inside of 8 again? No. He's not going to do that again, and who can blame him either? He's now going to look towards 10, you'd imagine, as they get out of the corner into this downhill braking zone. They are in traffic as well, and to be honest, although we're, to be fair, not in the last 10 minutes yet where it will be at its thickest, but it's not had the effect on the race that I thought it might do just yet.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's, like I say, I still feel like there's some drama left to go in this race. We've seen a little bit in the opening stages, but as we eclipse the race distance of race number 1, I get the feeling there's a fair amount more to deal with. Got a little bit of lap traffic there on the outside as they're working their way through and going for a bit of a spin. That member of lap traffic, that was the 403, that was Verstead, who's gone for the spin, but also Sundell's been involved in that as well somehow.
He has. He's running in the top 10 was going for a top 10 in both races here tonight. It's not going to happen. Not anymore.
He caused it. Sorry, I'd only just seen it. Yeah, I was blind.
Well, you do have glasses for a reason.
Thank you.
Just sort of sat on the apex there on the outside. So I'm not entirely sure what that was all about, but we can see the aftermath, and unfortunately that is going to be the end of a top 10 run. As far as Sundell's concerned, getting anywhere near that now is going to be very, very difficult. Oh dear, that was a very brief glimpse of somebody off into the side of the circuit there as well. I couldn't even identify where that was actually, but they were definitely missing the front end, whoever it was. And we'll see who it was in a moment, but incidents are coming thicker and faster here. Oh dear.
Oh, wheel disconnection.
Yeah. Although they don't normally turn to the right like that.
It depends on the wheel. Some of them, when they disconnect, they can actually hard lock the other way. Some of them will just lock in basically 0 on the axis, so they'll return to basically being straight. I think some will leave it when they disconnect in the exact rotation that they were in, so they would keep going in that way. I think it depends on how it disconnects and what wheel it is. I am not a software engineer or anything, though. I am just an idiot commentator trying to inform you on such information. But I think it looked suspiciously like a wheel disconnection to me, or something in that vein.
It did a bit. Someone who definitely does know what he's talking about, though, unlike us, is Linus Brogström, who has just passed me a message that Tobias Olsen is 1x from a drive-through penalty.
Oh.
Now, we've seen him trying to make up places, and to be fair, making up places is a byproduct of that is incident points, but you don't want to be 1x away with nearly 10 minutes left at a circuit where they're pretty easy to pick up in a lot of traffic as well.
Yeah, certainly so. And now it might be a troublesome 7 minutes and 30 seconds up to the checkered flag. Backed yourself into a bit of a corner, and that's sometimes how it goes. And now when navigating traffic, going to have to be extra careful. Track limit's going to have to be extra careful. Completely misses the apex at the final corner. So maybe I'm talking rubbish and he's not being extra careful. He's still pushed it to the absolute limit. Might not be good for his championship lead, as much as he was given a bit of a lifeline with Beifeld's issues in race number 1. Seems like he's the one with the big problems here as they work their way through the final laps of this race. There is Oscar Motin having a bit of a battle here, trying to find his way through on Andreas Bachmann, and will indeed hold that position for 18th at present.
Absolutely. So big points up here, as I mentioned at the earlier on. Top 50 get points here, and so therefore everybody in this race here today. Once you're in the top 20, it's solid points indeed, especially if you're not a top driver in the championship looking to move on up. Tobias Olsen now a second and a half away from Mikael Sundström, and that's going to only continue to happen now I reckon he's very much backed this one off, saying, well, I don't want to drive through penalty. 6th place is better than 26th. He's not going to drop all the way there. But, you get the point. It's much better for him to just stay 6th and not getting anything else than it is for him to get a drive-through penalty. So he's just going to focus on not getting any instant points, I think, and holding 6th place. That would basically give himself and Byfeld come out even. In fact, Olsen would gain 1 point tonight, but I think he would take that, considering he's very close to a drive-through at the moment.
Yeah, indeed. And to be fair, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but navigating 5 minutes and 40 seconds without getting a single penalty point for track limits, for a half spin, for contact with lap traffic, that's a tall order. And as much as he can, bring some things into his own control by backing off of Mikael Sundström and maybe thinking, right, I'll just cruise to the checkered flag. The more he does that, Edvin Forsland's only 3 or so seconds behind. The chance of him maybe closing in if he backs off too much, especially when they try and navigate traffic, it's not going to be comfortable, the final 5 minutes of this race for Olsen.
No, that's the thing, isn't it, with the instant points, is that it's not always exactly in your control, which admittedly he has, been in control to get up to that 1x away, which is, I guess, the counterpoint to that. But, that last 1x could be a real problem. And I think maybe for the first time this season, maybe that's a bit harsh on them, but Oliver Hagström, Viggersjö and Mikael Sundström finishing between Byfeld and Olsen has been a big turning point here as well. I guess the question is going to be, over the next 6 races, can they sort of do this again? Montreal in 2 weeks' time might be a sort of similar-ish race to this, although I would maybe, well, it's kind of the same really. The Red Bull Ring, though, and Donington Park, I would say, do have more overtaking chances than you see around here, and therefore harder defending jobs, like much what we've seen at Watkins Glen and Road Atlanta so far as well. They've done a good job so far tonight. Oh, and there you go. There's the aggression that they need. A bit of defending for second place, and this, by the way, is not really to help out Byfeld anymore, because he's gone off and won this race. That's pretty clear, and it looks like Olsen's going to be 6th, but this is for his own finish, and this will be a good finish as well. He's trying his hardest at the moment to keep Henrik Lindhoff behind.
Yeah, indeed. That was there's a big crash, and that is going to send Hagström round. There's even more contact that sees Lindhoff going for the spin. Wow. There was the drama that we were waiting for, and unfortunately it has unfolded poorly for the 2nd and 3rd place cars. That
is not what Henrik Lindhoff needed to see. I mean, look at this. He's on the racing line there, Patrick Pfeffer. I know he's trying his best to get out the way, but that is almost as in the way as you could be, unfortunately, through 3 and 4. And Henrik Lindhoff has lost a few places as a result. He has a right to be pretty upset about that. Olsen's going to get an extra position as a result as well. Now, Edvin Forsland, the IndyCar champion from the winter 2024 season about a year ago, is going to be trying to win that 6th place back again as well. Not the best look for Lindhoff tonight, and certainly that part underlines it.
Yeah, certainly not, and that is a bit of a shame. It's promoted Tobias Olsen up into 5th position, so looking better for him now. 4 seconds to the car behind. Maybe he can take things into his own control over the final 3 minutes left of this race. I think there'll be 3 further laps left to go. A couple of drivers leaving pit lane, and what has been a pretty chaotic second race here at what's been a pretty chaotic round of the championship.
Yeah, it certainly has, but we expected that from Rudskogen. I mean, we expected it from all the rounds, to be honest. I mean, when it's quite hard to not have action when you've got 45 in the field, or 48 indeed, as it is tonight, and was at the start. Certainly not anymore, but you do well not to find too much action in that. With just over 2 minutes to go, it is drawing to a close though. Byfeld is going to be on his way to a victory, it looks like. Who is going to be in the other positions inside the top 10? Lindhoff again with lap traffic. He's going to be getting some nasty flashbacks at the moment. Oh, is there another on the racing line as well? They now pull out the way, maybe a little bit later than Lindhoff would have liked. I know it's his teammate right behind, but he would have felt nervous about that happening all over again there.
Yeah, but as much as it is his teammate behind, it's not his teammate behind that, and Tom Nordstrom will be going on the attack over the final couple of laps, going a little bit deep at 12, dragging a little bit more gravel onto the circuit as they run into the braking zone of 13 and then into the final corner on the racetrack and back out onto the start-finish stretch. Once again, there you go. I'll throw that one back in there. Olsen's close into Sundstrom here. Do you reckon maybe late in the race he's thinking, oh, maybe I'll go for something?
Yeah, maybe. I think, yeah, we are getting to that stage now where, you know, it's kind of like, well, nearly the end now. So, might as well. Yeah, we'll see. A minute to go. Trying to look how many laps there are left, by the way. Should be one more at the end of this one. 1 minute left. Yeah, Weifeld should be a couple of seconds further up the road. More lap traffic spinning in front of Lindhoff. He's going to be wondering what's happened to his look overnight, because at the moment, in these last 5 minutes, it's not been the best, that's for sure, and he's seen the spin all around him.
Yeah, potentially, like I say, potentially so. It's 40 seconds left to go with that extra, like, one final lap. I get the feeling that Olsen might try and put the pressure on Sundstrom if there's no lap traffic up ahead, but I don't think that he's going to go for anything there on Sundstrom. It's not worth the points for moving through into that fourth position, so no. It is what it is.
White flag waves and one more lap.
Olsen, the class of the field, and they are pulling away from the rest of them, and seems where drama has gone the way of Beifeld, it's then gone the way of Olsen in the next race, keeping things nice and close at the front end of the field.
There is Beifeld round the bottom of turn 10. 10 seconds in front of the rest of the field. This is the kind of race he needed. His nearly on pace teammates have shown up as well and done fantastically well, and he has driven faultlessly in this half an hour as well. Out through the final corner now, and in race 2 of the Additon.se Grand Prix at Rudskogen, it's going to be Marcus Beifeld to win race 2 and get his championship back on track, close to Tobias Olsen again. He's going to finish 5th as he struggles to get past Sundstrom. Nearly on pace, have 3 drivers inside the top 4 as they help Beifeld to close that championship disadvantage. And over the line for Lindhoff, finally, ahead of Edvin Forsund, who moves up to 7th. Nordstrom in 8th. Ice Cold Racing not quite mobbing the front as they were in race number 1. It's nearly on pace who seem to dominate this one.
Certainly so. There's Hampus Baz once again trying to go on the attack. Gunnarsson is going to be able to hold it out through the final corner. No major drag races on this run to the line. And again, a superbly dominant performance by Marcus Beifeld, who did exactly what he needed to do after the issues in race 1, and starting this one from 4th. Just a perfect drive to the race victory.
He got a 0x race, by the way, as well, so that's an extra 5 points in this series. Could be absolutely massive come the end of the season, that those 5 points will be added to his tally. So a well done to him for that, and a thanks to Linus Broström for that, by the way, as well, as the final drivers on the lead lap come over the line. Only 24 getting to the end on the lead lap. We said that lap traffic would be more of a factor. Lots of attrition in that race, of course, with more than 10 drivers retiring before it finished. However, lots of drivers also running their own race and still running a lap down to Marcus Beifeld anyway. He wins by 10.9 seconds in front of his teammate Oliver Heitzen-Viggersjö, with Daniel Homer joining them on the podium. Nearly on pace, didn't quite get a 1-2-3. Sundstrom is 4th, heads to Tobias Olsen, who loses points in 5th place. It's going to be very close in the championship lead now with those extra 5, by the way, for Beifeld. Henrik Lindhoff, Edvin Forsund, Tom Nordstrom, Alexander Olsen, Thomas Hedlund round out the top 10. Jonathan Skagerston battled off Johnny Sundell, who couldn't quite get back to the top 10 in the end. Matt Strand and Jonas Gunnarsson and Hampus Baz continued their battle for 13th place, finished in that order. Christopher Gerrels finished ahead of Christopher Crook, with Andres Backman, Oscar Motin and Christian Loven rounding out the top 20. Lucas Olsen, Jock Frisk, Gabriel Norberg and Ilias Fanoli, who came from the back of the field, by the way, in race 2, all finished on the lead lap. Bjorn Broström 1 lap down. Marcus Stiller got up to 26th in the end, with Mikko Penix, who finished a lap down in race 1, also doing the same here in race 2. Joachim Svensson, Christian Gantz, who had quite a big crash actually, and Andre Solander as well, all finished the race inside the top 30 as well. Thomas Cannell, Robert Carlson, Dante Forsberg, Patrick Pfeffer and Nicholas Gran round out those on the lead lap. One lap down, I should say. And I think the others are all retirements. Tony Evening, Hackenschott, Simon Lindelof, Pontus Vested and Oliver Bohlin, all inside the top 40. And these certainly retirements further down. Jens Lundqvist, Fredrik Forsell, Pontus Janssen, Kasper Björk, Joel Strauberg, Oscar Bernsen, Kalle Wallingstam and Björn Lindberg, all finishing early in this race, unfortunately. Let's have a chat then to some of the drivers, starting with Daniel Holmer after race number 2. And Daniel, welcome in. Good to have you with us. Thanks for chatting to us at the end here tonight. How did you find Svenska Eracingligan's first ever race at the Rudskogen? Is it at the Rudskogen Motor Centre? Sorry, is it a circuit you particularly enjoy?
I live close to it. I hate it. I hate this car. Yeah, it's a handful. Yeah, and I like it now.
At least it's grown on you in the last, hour or so. Of course, getting a podium will do that as well. Just tell us a little bit about race number 2 here, how you managed to get there, because it was a big group actually, with Oliver Hodgson Vigazoo at the front of it, and then a whole load of drivers in behind, including yourself in that battle. What was it like to battle wheel to wheel like that here tonight?
It was a great racing tonight, actually. Everyone showed everyone's space on track and respect each other. It was fun.
Well, I'm glad this circuit has grown on you, and indeed you managed to get a podium with it as well. So congratulations on that, Daniel. And thanks for coming to chat to us at the end as well. I'm sure we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. That is Daniel Holmer, third place in race number 2. Marcus Byfeld, nor Tobias Olsen seem to be joining us at the moment, although I don't think Byfeld has joined us before actually for a quick chat. So that might just about be it as far as the interviews are concerned. We'll be back, of course, next week with the Oval Series the week after from Montreal, October 30th at 8 p.m. Central European time. Sorry. Make sure you check your local time zone, because I know clocks are going forwards and backwards at this time of year. So do check your local timing for that one. But we'll be back next week, of course, with more Oval Series action. Make sure you join us for that, alongside the Road Series coming up again in 2 weeks' time. This has been RaceSpotTV's broadcast of the latest round of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan Road Series in the Porsche Cup cars tonight. I've been Johan O'Leary alongside Lewis McGillade with Hugo Louise behind the cameras. We'll all see you again in 1 week's time with another instalment of the Oval Series. Goodbye for now.